It all comes down to tonight. Hello and welcome to gorgeous Matthew Knight Arena here on the campus of the University of Oregon for the 2022 NCATA Championship meet between number 1 Baylor and number 3 Gannon. Let's go ahead and look at how we got here. Yesterday, number 3 Gannon knocked off number 2 Azusa Pacific in the semifinals. Baylor beat number 4 Quinnipiac. And here we are today, number 3 Gannon versus number 1 Baylor. Hello and welcome, Matt Side here at Matthew Knight Arena. Knight Uretsky with Janelle Cook. And these two programs having really remarkable seasons. Gannon, best season in program history. Baylor looking for their 7th straight title. Should be a good one between these two programs.
It's going to be a great matchup. Gannon's out here hungry, fired up, ready to lay it all on the line and see what they can do against number 1 Baylor.
We're going to get started right away, and here is the compulsory event. Gannon's going to go ahead and get on the mat first for the compulsory Acro heat.
Starting off here with the compulsory Acro heat. So if you're just joining us for the first time this weekend, the compulsory event are the building blocks, the foundational skills of acrobatics and tumbling. We're going to see 4 heats. First here, the acro, we'll move on to pyramid, toss, and then to tumbling. The teams are going to be competing identical skills in all of these 4 heats before we move on to the optional portion of the meet. So you can see this acro, compulsory acro is built 3 sequences. Going into the 3rd sequence here for Gannon. Going to do a switch up into the liberty position, out to the arabesque. Going to see those legs out at 90 degrees, a full twist down into the cradle.
Gannon's pretty fired up right there. And let's go ahead and look at the highlights yesterday from Gannon as they knocked off number 2 Azusa Pacific. See the Golden Knights right there. Allie Price, the top.
A lot of fun action yesterday. Gannon putting in a great performance against Azusa Pacific. A lot of fun to be had.
And you can see their celebration right there. They were pretty fired up to beat the 2-seed Azusa Pacific, and they feel pretty motivated tonight going up against Baylor.
Yeah, you know, Coach Eshelman said, you know, they feel like they've already won. They've made it as far as they've ever been before in this tournament and have a formidable opponent with Baylor, but all they can do is come out here and do their very best, maximize their scores. They're down in start value going into this meet by 2.24 points. So they're going to have to make sure that they're executing well, getting the most points that they can out of every heat, and hope that Baylor makes the mistakes so that they can take home the win.
Now Baylor's going to come out for the compulsory acro heat.
So again, we're going to be seeing those identical skills that Gannon just completed in the first portion of the heat. So starting with the first part of the sequence, we'll see the tops, Emily Tobin and Cameron Kitchens, do a toe pitch. You see the height on those toe pitches. There's a release between the top and the base, and they catch again at the shoulder level. They do that tuck off to the ground to complete the first sequence in this 3-sequence heat. They go up to that extended position and go and hold a straddle. Those straddles need to be 90 degrees. You want to see continuous movement in the pop over to the shoulders. First base is going to let go, and this is where the judges are looking for the stability and not to have any movement by those tops. They want to see some rise in that dismount as they come down to the floor. And then again, the switch up to the liberty, out to the arabesque. And the full twist down into the catch. And again, talking about the rise, you saw those 2 tops go up in the air, complete the spin, and come down into the cradle.
So let's go ahead and look at the highlights from yesterday from the Baylor Bears as they knocked off number 4 Quinnipiac.
Jordan Grunler, Bailey Humphreys, we're going to see them a lot tonight. First in pyramid, then in acro. Baylor's got a good fan base. They've traveled well. So has Gannon. So there's a lot of energy tonight in the arena. You see those All-Americans there. Baylor, a very strong tumbling team, so that's an area tonight where they're going to look to maximize their opportunities to score against Gannon. And the Open Tumbling Event champion earlier this morning, Bree Harris, showing you her pass.
So that was Baylor yesterday, knocking off number 4 Quinnipiac. Today, going up against Gannon, and Gannon this season 10-1. Their only loss of the year was to Azusa Pacific, and yesterday the Golden Knights got revenge against the Cougars, were able to knock off Azusa Pacific, and really, Coach Jackie Eshelman said once they lost to Azusa Pacific, they gained a lot more confidence in themselves, and it definitely showed last night, and they have a lot of confidence tonight. The Golden Knights are going to come back onto the mat now, and here is the Pyramid Heat in the compulsory event.
So compulsory pyramid is a new pyramid this year. There's a compulsory committee for the NCATA that reviews these skills every 3 years to determine if the skills are the appropriate building blocks for the progression and evolution that we're seeing in the sport and the skills that the coaches are submitting to compete in the optional events. And so this was an area where the committee wanted to make a change. So you see this new structure with the thigh stands, the 2 primary bases, the mid base on their thighs, extended position of the top, and a straddle, and a flip down into the cradle. So again, all things that you're going to see again throughout the meet as part of the skills as they continue to build in difficulty and the rest of the meet.
So that was the Gannon Golden Knights completing the Pyramid Heat in the compulsory event. And if you're unfamiliar with acrobatics and tumbling, as we look into the replay here, let's go ahead and give you a rundown of the meet format. So there is going to be 6 events total. There's the compulsory event, the acro event, and the pyramid event. That's the first half. There's going to be a 15-minute halftime break in between. Then the second half, it's the triple Ts, the toss, the tumbling, and the team event. Each event, there's a different amount of start value points that could potentially be earned in the compulsory event. For example, there are 40 points possible. They all have start values of 10 in each heat. As you move on throughout the match, in the meet, start values will differ, especially in the second half, and teams have a chance to earn possible points. Scoring is done live by the officials in real time, meaning that they're not looking at instant replay, they're not looking at slow motion, they're just looking with their eyes on the mat, and they're scoring it live at the end of every single event. They're going to score up the points, and they'll announce the winner of the event at the very end after all the heats are completed. Here's Baylor now in the Pyramid Heat in the compulsory event.
So again, we see that identical skills, 2 primary bases, extension there, and the kick out to the straddle. All of these elements have to be synchronized. Synchronization is a huge part of the compulsory event itself and throughout the meet. And so every movement that they are out on the mat is set to counts. They have to go according to the counts. So there can be a deduction if they get off the count, and there would also be a deduction, of course, if the movements aren't synchronized.
Look at the replay again. Here's the Baylor Bears.
So good execution here by Baylor and Gannon to start off, and that's what we're expecting from both of these teams. They're going to see a high level of execution. You know, they both did well last night in this event. Gannon scoring a 37.725, Baylor scoring a 38.6. So Baylor has talked about this is an opportunity for them, they feel, with compulsory acro and their strength and tumbling to potentially create some separation. So we'll see if it plays out that way for them tonight.
Compulsory is a crucial event because it is so even, and it's the tone setter in a meet. Because it is the first event. Here come the Gannon Golden Knights now coming out for the toss heat in the compulsory event.
So the compulsory toss is a back tuck. So you want to see extension of the tops off of the base platform. Complete the tuck at the very height of the toss and get full extension of their body back in before they get caught into the cradle. Catches are a big part of toss, as they are throughout even the descending or elements of pyramid and acro. But the catches are big, so that top one, you want them landing in a hollow body position. You want to make sure there's not a lot of movement by the bases, either steps or if they're shifting their weight to catch the top, if her flight in the air goes awry. So a great heat here for Gannon. You can see they've got good height, good synchronization. So a great start for them.
That was Gannon and head coach Jackie Eshelman, and on the sideline, she was pretty fired up with her squad. They're off to a great start. Jackie Eshelman, in her 5th season as the coach of Gannon University, she was named the 2022 NCATA Coach of the Year. Gannon, a remarkable season. They beat 6 ranked opponents throughout the regular season. Now Baylor's going to come out. This is going to be the toss heat in the compulsory event.
So again, as we're comparing apples to apples as we can in the compulsory heat, look for the height of the toss here. That's something that Baylor has excelled in this year. And then pay close attention to those catches as they come into the cradle. Well, we've said it a few times this weekend night, but I'm glad to be broadcasting with you instead of officiating, because these teams are executing at a very high level. And, 10 is the maximum value in the heats, but it's very rare to get a 10. The execution, there's so many technical pieces that go into the execution of these skills that it's very, very rare that you see a 10. So a 9.9, a 9.95 is a really, really high score in this sport.
Especially in the toss heat in the compulsory event, because it is so hard to time this up because they have to be synchronized, and you're dealing with tops with different sizes and bases with different strengths, and so to be able to time that up is really, really hard, and you'll see a lot of deductions on those tosses. Now Gannon's going to come out, and this is going to be the tumbling heat in the compulsory event.
So the compulsory tumbling heat includes a mixture of standing tumbling and running tumbling. So we're going to start here with the standing portion. The athletes are starting from a completely static position. So there's no movement prior to the execution of the first skill. Starting with a standing back tack. So we're looking for the technique through the skill as well as those landings. Starting to straddle jump there to a back tack. Now we're going to see a backhand spring back tuck. Then they're going to move over to the side for the running tumbling. So we'll see a round off, backhand spring, layout. You want to see some rise in the layout. So they should rise up in the air and come down. And again, it's supposed to be a stuck landing. So any little hop or step will be a minor deduction. But overall, a really good heat. Again, there's 8 athletes out on the floor. There's a lot of elements included, so there's a lot of opportunities for deduction. They're looking for the things that we might be able to see, those steps and hops and jumps, but they're also looking to make sure that are their legs together? Are they getting rise in their skill and amplitude? Are they reaching the 90 degrees in those straddle jumps? On those backhand springs, back tucks, are they keeping their legs together? Knees bent. All those little tiny incremental deductions. Incremental meaning that it's based on the severity of the skill. So if it's a large deduction, it would be a larger number of tenths that might be applied. And if it's a small error, they can apply a smaller deduction.
That's Gannon right there in the tumbling heat in the compulsory event. Again, in the compulsory event, there are 4 heats: the acro, the pyramid, the toss, and the tumbling. This is the only event where teams will perform the exact same skills. And all the start values will have a 10.0. In the entire first half tonight, we'll actually see both teams with start values of 10.0s. And then in the second half, that's where the start values really start to change. So we'll be able to give you the information on the start values in the second half. But in the first half, it's all going to be 10.0 start values.
So Gannon scoring 8.7 yesterday, Baylor scoring 9.1. So we'll see if they can match that execution today. Starting with that standing tuck. Straddle jump to the back tuck. Oh, you can see a little bobble there, little balance error. Backhand spring back tuck. Again, you want to see, even though it's a standing pass, they want to see the backhand spring, and then they want to see rise or amplitude in the back tuck. Now onto the running portion. Again, a round off backhand spring back layout. And out of the back handspring, you should see all of those athletes rise and stick those landings. So really good overall execution. Again, they're going to be looking for all those little minor details in the execution that we mentioned. But some of the things that we were easily able to see was a little bit of a balance error there by Bree Harris, the senior here, and then some hops on the landings. Another important aspect of this is that you want to be landing with their chest up. So you can see as they come out of those, you can see the error there a little bit by Bree Harris, but as they come out of these, they want to land chest up. You can see really good execution on that portion of it.
A little bit of flair for the Bears right there.
Yeah, why not have a little bit of fun on the way over to the running portion? And I thought overall good execution on those layouts. And again, you see a little bit of hop, but they're going to be looking at body position, synchronization, all the things that we mentioned.
So that'll do it for the compulsory event. Both teams have competed, left it on the mat. The officials are tallying up the scores right now, meaning that we're going to step aside and take a break. But when we come back, we'll announce the scores for the compulsory event and introduce the Acro event. Welcome back to the 2022 NCATA National Championships. And let's go ahead and look at the scores from the compulsory event. Baylor, a clean sweep across the board, winning the Acro 9.550 to Gannon's 9.450. The Pyramid 9.850 to Gannon's 9.675. The Toss 9.925 to Gannon's 9.750. The Tumbling 8.925 and Tumbling for Gannon 8.625. That brings us to a score 38.250 to 37.500, meaning that now we're going to head towards the Acro event. And let's go ahead and introduce you to the Acro.
And next up is the Acro event.
This begins the optional portion of the meet.
Each team will compete different skills with different possible start values.
There will be between 2 and 4 athletes on the floor in each heat.
Heat 1 has 5 elements, Heat 2 has 6 elements, and Heat 3 has 7 elements.
The start value is determined by the difficulty and combination of each sequence.
This event shows power, strength, and balance to look for stability of the structure and position of the top.
So those are the rules for the Acro event, and again, let's go ahead and look at those start values. For Gannon, they're going to have a 10.0 start value in all of the Acro 5, 6, and 7 element. And here's Baylor now. Again, 10.0 start value in the Acro 5 element, 6 element, and 7 element. And so both teams going to ride out with 10.0 start values, meaning that they are performing the hardest skills possible.
Yeah, pretty typical in the first half when we're at these high level execution of these teams. So we're going to see similar start values throughout the first half, and then when we get into the second half, we'll see some of that change in the toss and the tumbling events. Or I should include team, right? The triple T's, all three.
From Gannon University, please.
Gannon's going to come out now for the Acro 5 element heat. Here for Gannon, we're going to see Montana Moeller to start as the top for the Golden Knights.
We're starting off with that toe pitch, which is a release move. So you want to see the toss get propelled in the air. The base breaks with her before she catches her at that shoulder level. She did a layout, a full layout down to the ground. Now they're gonna stay connected here, but they're gonna go all the way up to the fully extended position. So bringing that top from the ground all the way to that extended position, very difficult. Then a full 360 degrees of twist down to the ground. And then here you're gonna see some of those elements that we saw in the compulsory heat. So going to that inverted position. Everything in the Acro heat needs to be held for 3 seconds. So every time they achieve a position, they have to show that stability and that hold for 3 seconds.
That was Gannon University in the Acro 5 element heat. Let's look at the replay again.
And a really strong start. They've done really well in this heat so far throughout the tournament. A little bit of a balance check there as they got their stability and gained their position, but you can see they regained it, held it for 3. The full. Look for the landings there. It looks like they were good arm's length apart from each other. Great control on that way, all the way up to that extension. As you look at those twist downs throughout the meet, you want to see that the top is landing right in front of her base. If she's off to the side or if she hasn't fully rotated, those would be potential deductions. We didn't see that here. Just looking at some things you might be able to look for throughout the meet. And a great finish there with the inverted position.
Another important thing to look out for as we move along in the Acro event is there is a 45-second limit. So these teams have 45 seconds to execute the skills, which as you move further along in the Acro event and you move towards the 7 element heat, Trying to execute 7 skills in 45 seconds could get pretty close, and there could be a deduction if teams don't execute in those 45 seconds. Here now for Baylor, we're going to see Emily Tobin and Riley Chimwalla. Chimwalla the base, Tobin the top.
So you saw the climb up there to the shoulder level, and they're going to go straight into that extended inverted position. Fully extended. The handstand, the leg position is optional. Emily Tobin keeps hers spread a little bit apart and then presses down with incredible control to that straddle position. 90 degrees, the leg should be at 90 degrees in that straddle position. Now you're gonna see, it's called a walk-in. So they keep contact, again, get to that shoulder level, that half twist around. Back down, so 5 elements. The first heat goes pretty quick.
Is Baylor in the 5-element acro heat? Let's look at the replay again.
So Emily Tobin, the Division I National Player of the Year, didn't have her best performance this morning in the event files, but has come out. Looks like she is ready to go tonight.
Absolutely, and a lot of this sport is mental. You can see the physical aspect there, but mentally, these athletes have to be very mentally sound.
Yeah, you know, the coaches described it as being 80-90% of the game. Obviously, there's incredible strength and there's incredible training for technique and the repetition of the training so that there's muscle memory for these athletes. They're pound for pound the strongest athlete on their campuses. They do a lot of sport-specific weight training, but it's all about coming out here and being able to put those things together and performing in the moment.
So that was Baylor in the Acro 5-element heat. Now we're going to welcome Gannon back onto the floor, and this is the Acro 6-element heat. So one more skill having to be executed by the Golden Knights here.
So we're going to start again with that toe pitch. You want to see some height and a release from the base. And then grab right at that shoulder level. You're going to see a layout. She's going to go up, come down. There's a beautiful rise amplitude there in that layout. Now we're going to see that extended all the way up again. This time they're doing it with 1 base. They did it with 2 in the first heat. And you saw a little bit of a balance error as they came in. She competes that 360 twist down again. And now she's doing half a twist there into that inverted position that we saw earlier. And then releasing from that first base. So the judges are looking for the stability in the hold. And another nice heat for Gannon.
That was the 6-element acro heat from the Gannon Golden Knights. Let's look at the replay one more time. See Susie Whiteman, the top for Gannon.
Yeah, and she's been, you know, a big top for Gannon this season. She has a lot here in the first event. Really solid competitor. You can see there where those errors were on the walk-in. A little bit of a balance check, but the base maintained her composure. She didn't look like she took any steps that I saw. So there'll be some incremental errors for that. Or excuse me, incremental deductions for those errors. And here, again, it's pretty impossible to see 0 movement at all when you go into that. So there'll be some really small movement, maybe potentially some small deductions there. But good execution by Gannon in the 6 elements.
Baylor, the number 1 seed, taking on number 3 Gannon. Baylor looking for their 7th straight NCATA title. Fee Mulkey, who's the head coach of the Baylor Bears, has won all 10 NCATA national championships. She won 4 at Oregon before heading to Waco, has won the last 6, and she's looking for title number 7 here tonight. She's been so impressive in her entire career. She calls herself the grandmother of acrobatics and tumbling, and I mean, that's exactly what she is. 116-5 in her career, 83-2 overall at Baylor.
I don't have much to add there. She's got an incredibly impressive resume. I think what's most exciting about what she does is how she advocates across the country for this sport. And I think even more than all of those wins on the mat, what's important to her is to see how these programs are growing across the country and the progression through the NCAA emerging sport process into NCAA championship status one day.
Here's Baylor in the Acro 6 element. We're seeing Faith Core the base and Cam Kitchens the top right there. And now we're going to see the duo of Bailey Humphrey and Jordan Gremler.
They're the ones to watch tonight. So we're going to see their signature move here right away. The one arm. And again, I think it's really impressive as they shift. You don't even really see Bailey Humphrey shift over to the side. So Jordan Grenler's making this move over to go onto that one arm. And Bailey Humphrey stays square. It's just incredible. The strength and the connection. They're quite the duo.
Absolutely, and we'll see him again in the next heat in the Acro 7 element for Baylor, but let's go ahead and look at the replay again. So it starts out with Faith Core, the base, and Cam Kitchens, the top.
Doing that move that we saw with Gannon, going from the ground all the way to that extended position, which itself requires a lot of strength and balance. Then they do that half around there, and they've executed that half of the first half of the 6 element really well. Then we get to see Jordan and Bailey do that fun entry there, and then move over to the one arm, and you can see what I mean there. It doesn't even, Bailey Humphrey doesn't even really move her body. It's incredible. It's been a joy to watch.
It absolutely has. And going back to what you were talking about Fee Mulkey really wanting the sport to grow, it's really awesome to see them execute these skills, because that skill wasn't even a thing until this season, and the sport just continues to grow. Jordan Grenler came in and had that skill, pitched it to the NCATA, and they got it approved for this season, and it's been so awesome to see them execute it all year.
It's been a lot of fun, and Mia Rose King, another acrobatic gymnast at Quinnipiac, performing a planche, so there were 5 new body positions, and so it's been really fun to see those added into the complement of acro skills here that these teams can select from.
Here's Gannon now in the 7 element acro heat.
We're going to see that extended hand-to-hand again. They're going from 1 base to 2. Allie Price. She's going to press down to the pike. And again, in the pike position, you want to see the 90 degrees. She's well above that there with her toes pointed up. And then she pops over. That's really a difficult, I think the probably underrated difficulty skill there, to go from that pike position and straight over into the popover.
That's the Gannon Golden Knights completing the Acro 7 element heat. Let's look at the replay again for Gannon.
And again, they start with that toe pitch, so looking for height there and the separation with the base as they land there back on the shoulders. And then the full twisting layout down to the ground. And then as Allie does the shoulder climb up there, going into that extended position, the second base comes in after she initiates the skill and ends with that press down to the pike.
Allie Price, the sophomore for Gannon, NCATA All-American as a sophomore, which is really rare, and she is the heart and soul of this Gannon team.
Yeah, you know, she, how Jackie described her, Coach Eshelman, described her as a beast, and she said that she's a freak of nature. She can take any critique that you give her, any feedback that you give her, and immediately incorporate it into what she's doing. It's really impressive. She's only a sophomore, so a lot of room to grow, and it's going to be exciting to see what she can do in the sport.
Now we're going to see Bailey Humphrey and Jordan Grenler again, and these two won the Acro 7 Element National Championship earlier today in the event finals, and here we get to see them in the National Championship meet in the Acro 7 Element heat.
So Jordan Grenler climbs up, immediately goes into that high hand-in-hand extended position, presses down to a straddle. Now she's gonna change positions again and move levels. This is, again, not a combination you often see. And then she's gonna lean over there and do the one arm. So a little bit of movement there that we didn't see in the heat before, but again, overall, maintaining their composure there. And then that's a walk-in, just finishing that 7th element. Most of the difficulty, as you might imagine, came from the first 6 elements of that heat.
That was Bailey Humphrey and Jordan Grenler. Humphrey, a sophomore, Grenler, a freshman. And Humphrey, this is her first year on the Baylor team. Let's look again.
One really impressive thing about this heat is that there is only the one ground touch at the end. So the 6 elements are being completed up in the air. So she pressed down again, watch this level change when she changes body positions and changes levels. So you can imagine, again, the difficulty there before they move into that signature one-arm position. And there's going to be like we said before, there's always going to be a little bit of movement. These athletes are counterbalancing. They're using their wrists, their arms, their shoulders to make sure that they can maintain the rest of the body position. So it's very rare that there's never going to be any movement, but very minimal movement there.
So that'll do it for the Acro event. The officials are tallying up the scores right now. We're going to step aside and take a break. When we come back, we'll announce the Acro scores and introduce the Pyramid event. Welcome back to the 2022 NCATA National Championships. Let's go ahead and look at the scores from the Acro event. Baylor, another clean sweep across the board in each heat, 9.900 not to 9.575, 9.925 to 9.325, and then 9.750 to 9.700. That brings us to a total score right now. Baylor 67.825 to Gannon 66.100. So those are the scores for the Acro event, meaning that coming up is going to be the Pyramid event. So let's go ahead and introduce you to the Pyramid event.
The Pyramid event is coming up.
In this event, you will see pyramids that are 3 levels high.
This event has 3 different heats with different requirements for each.
Heat 1 must have an inversion, Heat 2 must be synchronized, and Heat 3 is the open heat.
The start value of each heat is determined by the difficulty and combination of the structure, entry, dismount, and top body position.
Some of the things the officials will be looking for are the positions of the tops and sturdiness of the structure.
So those are the rules for the Pyramid event, and we're going to start with the inversion heat in the Pyramid event. Gannon University is going to come out first.
So as the heat name suggests, we're going to see an inverted position, which means we're going to see somebody go upside down. So starting with the thigh stand, you can see those primary bases on the ground, 1 mid-level base on their thighs, 1 primary base supporting from the back as well. We're going to see Allie Price go into an extended hand-to-hand here. So again, looking for them to hit this position at the top, hold for 3 seconds and stable, and fall into the cradle. Looking for hollow body position, which we saw there with Allie Price in the cradle. Looking for a strong catch and a high catch there from the bases. We don't want to see movement there, and I think we did not. So a great catch and a great hold there at the top. Again, if we're going to get really nitpicky, there may have been a little bit of stability, some minor deductions for that, but overall, really solid.
Again, let's look at the replay with Gannon. Allie Price, the top.
So as you get up there, again, it's really hard to see absolutely no movement. So there might be some very minor stability deductions, but very nice.
Overall, a pretty clean catch for the Gannon Golden Knights. It's the 2022 NCATA National Championships. We're here in the Pyramid event, and now Baylor's going to come out for the inversion Pyramid heat.
So I learned earlier today that the Baylor team has nicknamed this pyramid the Tower of Terror because the top is so high up there in the air. So we get to see that combination of Jordan Grunler and Bailey Humphrey again. We saw in the Acro event, here in the Pyramid event. So they're going to do 270 degrees of twist up there to that shoulder level. And those Bailey's arms extended there, going all the way up to the top. The leg position is optional, so you saw Allie Price with her feet slightly apart. You see Jordan Grunler with her legs crossed. Again, we're looking to get up there, reach that position, hold it for 3 seconds, looking for stability of the structure, and the ends of the catch, the things that we've discussed but that are important about the catches and the dismount. So as we look at the replay there, keep an eye on stability and then keep an eye on the catch. And again, you see some minor movement there right at the wrists where their hands are coming together. And then that long fall into the cradle. But a great body position in the cradle and a great catch by those catching bases.
Well, they call that the Tower of Terror. Didn't look very scary right there. It looked very clean.
It looked very clean, yeah. Not scary at all.
So that was Baylor in the inversion pyramid heat. Coming up is going to be the synchronized pyramid, and Gannon They do the synchronized pyramid like no other team.
One of my favorites that we've seen all season. I think it's a crowd favorite too. It's a really dynamic entry. They bring the top all the way down from the ground, toss her all the way to the extended position, 2.5 levels up there. So it's a really fun heat. I'm really excited for everyone to see it.
Gannon earlier won the individual national championship in the synchronized pyramid. As earlier today in the event finals, and again, this entry is very, very exciting from the Gannon Golden Knights.
So you'll see that thigh stand structure, but 4 primary bases are going to be holding 2 mid-level bases. One of the mid-levels is going to help those tossers throw them all the way up to that extended position, catching them up in the air. And then a half twist down to the cradle. Very synchronized, did very well at catching and holding that in a stable position at the top. And I want to point out something really interesting, something that you probably wouldn't have seen, and the Knights did a great job in adjusting the group on the left. You can see how her foot is pointed, her left foot, I guess, the right foot on your screen is just pointed down a little bit. So it was, again, a really incredible move by the mid-level bases catching that top that they were able to adjust. And she was able to adjust her balance and position by just moving her foot. And really you didn't see any movement that resulted from it, but it was an adjustment that they made on the fly to make sure that they could maintain that position, get the 3-second hold, and move into the dismount.
That mid-level base was number 50, Sammy Googe. She's the redshirt junior base and tumbler from Midland, Michigan. She was named Specialist of the Week in the final regular season week of the season. And head coach Jackie Eshelman, she also described her as a, quote, beast.
Yes, that's right. She was the beast. Allie was the freak of nature. I mixed them up. But yeah, she's an incredible athlete, been a really strong base all season for Gannon, and a leader on the team.
Here's Baylor now in the synchronized pyramid heat.
So we're going to see something different here for Baylor. We're going to see that thigh stand position again, but we're going to see 2 primary bases, 1 mid-level base. And they're going to stay connected, twist up 270 degrees, that shoulder level, switch over from hands to feet. And then these tops are going to get pressed to full extension by the mid-level bases. I talked earlier with the Baylor strength coach and we asked, is it harder to press up or to press down? And we agreed that pressing down is actually harder. They have their momentum and they can use their legs to really push up. But then for coming back down, it's all about control. And so, you could argue probably all day which is tougher, but we're thinking that the way down might be the toughest.
Here's the replay again. Cam Kitchens the top on the right, Emily Tobin the top on the left.
Yeah, and between these two teams, so far, especially today, we have not seen much in the way of synchronization errors. So any deductions that we are going to see that the officials may be taking are going to be those technical executions. But overall, again, like we said earlier, I'm glad to be on the broadcast instead of in the official seat.
Fee Mulkey, the head coach at Baylor, again, going for her 11th national title. But like you said, she's really interested in growing this sport. And it's really remarkable to see how much acrobatics and tumbling has grown in the past decade. Started with 6 members about a decade ago, and now we're up to 40 and 41 members being added, and a potential NCATA championship in the next couple of years.
Yeah, it's been really exciting. It's been a very exciting month. We just added Morgan State University and Duquesne University. We just got an email yesterday during a meeting that another announcement is coming in the next couple weeks, so we're very excited to welcome a new member soon. So the growth continues, and Felicia Mulkey has certainly been very instrumental in the expansion across the country.
Here's Gannon now in the open pyramid heat. This is the heat where teams have the most free reign with their pyramids.
So again, we see that thigh stand structure, mid-level base. We're going to see that press to extension that we saw earlier with Baylor as well. Really good control on the way up and the way down. And we're going to see 180 degrees of twist out to the cradle. So both teams are coming out hot tonight. This is going to be a lot of fun.
That was Gannon, and they're carrying Nicole Pavia off right now. Let's look at the replay again. Again, Sammy Googe, the mid base for the Golden Knights.
So you see that twist up. There's no really technical way. Those are transitional skills when they change from, connected at the hands, connected at the feet. So there's really not any errors that can potentially take place there, unless, of course, there was stability that occurred while they were doing that, or potentially a fall or things like that. There are transitional skills that aren't necessarily declared. They can do that however it's best for them to make that transition, but you can see the reaction there. Hey!
Really great reaction from Gannon, and now Baylor's going to come out for the open pyramid heat.
So this will be a little fun. We'll see a different primary base position with a back bend.
And that back bend was actually created by Fee Mulkey in her first season at Baylor, and they're still doing it today.
Yeah, as you mentioned before, it's one of the great aspects of this sport is the ability to be creative and play to the strengths of your student athletes. So coaches have a submission period in the fall where they're able to play around with new skills, submit them to the NCATA scoring committee to be valued and added to the quota points for the season of competition.
That was Baylor in the open pyramid heat. Let's look at the replay again.
So starting with that primary base in the back bend, Riley Chimwala there is the middle base, Emily Tobin at the top. And they do that 270 degrees twist up in the entry and go to that straddle position. Again, 90 degrees in the straddle. Emily Tobin always has a beautiful straddle and a nice controlled full twist down to the ground.
So that'll do it for the pyramid event, meaning that that'll do it for the first half in this acrobatics and tumbling national championship meet between number 3 Gannon and number 1 Baylor. We're going to step aside and take a break while they tally up the scores for the pyramid event. But when we come back, we're going to have the scores for the pyramid, and we'll have an interview with head coach Fee Mulkey from Baylor. Welcome back to the 2022 NCATA National Championships. Let's go ahead and look at the scores from the pyramid event. Baylor won heat number 1, 9.875 to 9.850. Gannon finally won their first heat, 9.700 to Baylor's 9.675. Again, Gannon won the Synchronized Pyramid National Championship earlier. So, again, another strong performance in the Synchronized Pyramid for Gannon. 9.900 for Baylor, 9.800 for Gannon in the Open Pyramid. That brings us to a halftime score, 97.275 to 95.450. We'd now like to welcome you, Matt Side here at Matthew Knight Arena, Knight Uretsky with Janelle Cook and head coach Fee Mulkey from Baylor. And coach, a really, really strong first half from your squad. What did you like?
I like the way they came out in compulsory. I was happy with Acro. Faith Core is our senior in 6 element, and she wanted to go out like that, and that was probably the best 6 element she's done all year. So,
Coach, you talk a lot about peaking in the national championship, and now's the time. Do you feel like your squad's heading in that direction?
mentally, they're ready to do that, and so if we can execute in the second half, we might just peak today.
Well, and this morning with event finals and 2 competitions leading into today, they've got to be tired, so that mental aspect has to be key here in the second half.
Right. We plan for that all year. I tell them all the time, trust your training, because my practices are much harder than any meet day that you will ever have. So we're prepared for this.
We talked a little bit about the new additions to the NCATA and a recent email teasing a new announcement.
Yes.
So talk a little bit about the growth of the sport and what it's meant to you personally.
Oh my gosh, I'll start crying. It's just crazy to be here and watch event finals with all of these schools. You know, I remember when there were just 5 or 6 schools, and then in one year there were 14, and I remember standing at the back of the event finals mat like sobbing embarrassingly. And here we are at 42, right? And about to be 43. Are we right? Or
about to be 42.
About to be 42, but I know that we're going to be 43
okay.
really quick. So it's amazing, and every new school that adds is 40 more opportunities for women to compete at the collegiate level and represent their universities. I mean, it's really special what we're doing.
Thank you so much for joining us.
Yeah,
thank you so much, Coach. Good luck in the second half.
Thanks, Knight.
So that was head coach Fee Mulkey from Baylor, and let's go ahead and look at the halftime score one more time. Baylor currently leading Gannon 97.275 to 95.450. We'll be right back, and we'll be having an interview with Gannon's head coach, Jackie Eshelman. Welcome back to the NCATA National Championships. Again, let's look at the scores. Baylor, a clean sweep in the event so far in the first half. They currently lead 97.275 to 95.450. And we'd now like to welcome you, Matt Sy, Knight Uretsky with Janelle Cook, and head coach Jackie Eshelman, the head coach at Gannon. And coach, earlier today, 3 individual national championships. Can you talk about your team's success earlier?
Yeah, I mean, we're just really proud of them. I mean, we went in knowing that we really are very strong in our pyramid and our toss events. So we felt really comfortable in those events. So, I mean, going into it, we'd hoped for those rounds in particular. So to see them, bring home a couple national championships in those events was awesome to watch and to see. And I think it's just fueling them for today as well.
Coach, you competed under Fee Mulkey when you were here at the University of Oregon. What does it mean now to coach against her in the national championship?
It's awesome. I mean, I've always dreamed of having a national championship, and, probably one of my biggest regrets is not staying for that one extra year and, having that ring. So I'm excited to hopefully take this championship from her right now and just take it on home. So that's what we're working towards.
All right, well, such a strong first half for your team. They were executing. We were saying, with both teams, there was not much for us to talk about on this side of the table. So talk a little about what you saw in the first half from your team.
Yeah, I thought they did awesome the first half. I mean, this is day 3. I mean, 4 meets with event championships, and they're just killing it right now. And they're really hanging in there, and they're being extremely mentally tough. I keep telling them, you're going up against a team that is, looking to get 7 national championships underneath their belt, and you're just pulling it away from them inch by inch, and that's all you can do is just continue to do what you're doing and executing and hitting and leaving it up to the judges. And I'm just really proud of them. They're doing what we're asking of them, and they're doing a phenomenal job. And, we know we capitalize very well in our toss events, so that's where we're hoping to really start evening out the score there.
I was going to ask. So
yes.
Toss is up first in the second
half.
Yes,
and that's usually where we get rolling. Yes.
Leading into tumbling and team.
Yes.
So aside from toss, what do you want to see out of the rest of the second half?
Continuing to execute. Really looking for them to execute, land on their feet, be really nice and tight through all of their landings and their tumbling, and then really executing in team event. The past couple days in team event, there's been little mistakes that we typically haven't been making all year. So I'm just really looking to watch them execute and hit that team event.
Awesome. Thank you for joining
us.
Thank
you.
Thank you so much. Good luck in the second half.
Thank you.
So that was head coach Jackie Eshelman from Gannon University, and here's the score one more time at the halftime break. 97.275 for Baylor, 95.450 for Gannon. We're going to step aside, and we'll be right back for the second half here at the NCATA National Championship. Welcome back to the 2022 NCATA National Championship. Number 3, Gannon, currently trailing number 1, Baylor, 97.275 to 95.450. We're going to start the second half, and it starts with the toss event. Let's go ahead and introduce you to the toss.
Next up is the toss event.
Here you will see a group of athletes toss another athlete into the air. The top will perform a flip and or twist in the air before being caught. There are 3 heats in this event. Heat 1 is the salto toss. Heat 2 is the duo toss, in which 2 groups will need to throw synchronized identical skills, and the final heat is the open toss heat. The start value of the toss depends on the skill that the top executes in the air. The official will be looking for the height of the toss, the top's body position, and tight catches from the bases.
So those are the rules for the toss event. Gannon's going to come out to start. 450 salto heat. And they have a start value of 10.0 in the 450 salto. As you can see, the scores right there. Excuse me, the start value's right there.
So we're going to see the kick double, the highest valued toss in the sport. See that split, and then 2 full twists, the laid out position, back into the cradle. So we can see there on the replay as we look at the execution of that skill, she got great height off the platform. But as she came through there, the catch, there's a little bit of movement there in the catch. So again, we're looking, of course, we see all the excitement at the height of the toss and those aerial skills, but the catches are almost more important in terms of judging and finding, the daylight between these 2 teams. And so you can see there, landed a little bit to the side in the catch, so there'll be some small incremental deductions for that. And it all starts with that initial toss. You talked earlier in the meet about the difficulty of toss overall. And it's probably one of the most technical and the most difficult. It happens very quickly. And if the timing isn't right and the rise and the extension off of that platform doesn't get off to a good start, the rest of the heat has an opportunity to go awry.
Absolutely. And at the halftime break, we were talking with Jackie Eshelman from Gannon, and she said that the toss event was really the event that they have to hone in on and really get momentum here in the second half as they trail at the half.
Yeah, and it's the one that they have a little bit of a start value lead over Baylor. They have a 10th ahead of them in this heat, or in this event, excuse me, and so they're going to really look to maximize. Baylor has said this is not their event, and so with Gannon's strength here, they're going to look to see if they can reclaim some of those points and get it back, the lead, cut the lead down there going into Tumbling.
Here's Baylor now, 450 salto heat in the toss event.
So we're going to see a double, no kick here. It's a really good execution. Again, you can see also the groups were angled differently, so that's optional. That's up for the teams to decide. There's limited options, of course. They can't really face the back, but they can go to the side or they can go straight on, and so that's up to them to decide how they want to do that, potentially maximize the score. You're looking right there at the angle that the judges have. They're sitting right there on the center of the mat, so that's just a part of strategy in the game. So you can see there again a little bit of movement, a little bit off there in the cradle, so there'll be some small incremental deductions. But good height, good body position through the twist. Overall, a good heat for Baylor.
You can see Gannon's students, or excuse me, Gannon's athletes rather, they're hyping up the crowd right now, trying to get the fans into this. Gannon earlier today in the synchronized toss won the individual national championship, and so this is an area where Gannon really holds the edge over Baylor like we were talking about. This is a big moment for the Golden Knights right here.
Again, synchronization, and they're executing that kick double again. And so synchronization, excuse me, is key here, obviously, in this heat, but they're going to look for all those technical execution deductions as well. So we talked a lot about this might be, in our opinion, our educated opinions, that this could be the toughest of one of the toughest of the meet because of the technicality and the synchronization. And two different groups, completely different groups, trying to achieve the same height, the same timing. A lot of work there. So again, we can see a little bit of movement there in the cradles. You can see Allie Price really pull her feet through to get into that catch here in the group on the right. Overall, again, Gannon coming out strong.
We're here in the synchronized toss heat. It's the second of 3 heats in the toss event. Again, there's the 450 salto, the synchronized heat, and then the open heat. Gannon, they have a possible 29.9 points to be made. Baylor, 29.8 points to be made, like you said. Gannon, 0.1, a little bit higher than Baylor that they could earn here in the toss. Baylor coming out for the synchronized toss heat.
So we're going to see the double here again that they executed in the first heat. So look for the rise and the height of those skills, timing, a little bit of timing off. Looked like the grouper here on the right, tossing Emily Tobin, got her a little bit higher in the air. And so obviously that's going to change the synchronization. And it might result in a lack of height for the group on the left, a deduction for lack of height. Let's see it again here as we look in the replay. Yeah, looks like there was a little difference in the height there, so there might be lack of height taken over there for the group on the left, and some synchronization because of that error. Emily Tobin comes into that catch a little bit after.
It's exactly what we were talking about, where it's really hard to synchronize 2 tosses at once because you're dealing with 2 tops with different sizes and bases with different strengths, and really trying to synchronize that up is really, really hard. And so oftentimes in the toss event, especially in the synchronized heat, you'll see a lot of deductions there just based on the synchronization. Gannon looked like they had a little bit better of execution in the synchronized. But again, it's up to the officials to decide. The officials, again, are scoring in real time with their eyes, not benefiting from instant replay or slow motion. They're just scoring it And that's how it is. At the very end of every single event, they'll announce the scores. Gannon now coming back onto the mat. This is going to be the open toss. They have a start value of 9.90.
I've been excited. I've been waiting for this one. We get to see Allie Price do her Arabian tuck open. She's going to start. The Arabian is segmented into 3 specific movements. And so you're going to see her do 180 degrees of twist at the beginning, do a full flip, and then 360 degrees more of twist into there. Textbook execution by Allie Price of this toss.
Allie Price won the Open Toss National Championship earlier today in the event finals. Gannon University as a whole in the Open Toss, but Allie Price being the top for the Golden Knights. And let's look one more time here.
And she does this skill so well. And it's incredible to see, and it's nice to see the variety in the toss heat because there are a more limited number of skills, so it's great to see her come out here and do this at such a high level. I'm expecting a high score out of that, and it's a great way for Gannon to cap off the toss event.
Yeah, and Gannon currently trailing at the half. Gannon, a consistently strong toss team. Baylor, not as strong of a toss team. So this is the event where Gannon can really get back into it and gain a lot of momentum. Baylor, however, now coming in for the open toss, and they're going to have a start value of 10.0. So Baylor in the first 2 heats, 9.90 start values. Here in the open toss, a 10.0 start value for the Baylor Bears.
All right, so we're going to see the kick double here. Emily Tobin. So we'll look for that split right off the platform, bringing her legs back together to complete 2 full twists in the air. Really nice heat. You know, she scored a little bit lower in this heat yesterday, and I'm sure wanted to come back out and have a really good showing. Yesterday, she scored a 9.775, so she's going to look to increase that a little bit in order to put Baylor in the best position possible, closing out the toss event.
Again, here's Tobin, the top.
You'll see that split right off the get bait, brings her feet together, and then starts initiating that twist down into the catch. You can see maybe a little bit of a lack of extension as she comes into that cradle, but overall, very nice by Emily Tobin.
So that'll do it for the toss event. All 3 heats have been completed. The officials are tallying up the scores right now, meaning that we're going to step aside and take a break. But don't stumble. We got the tumble coming up here at the NCATA National Championships. Welcome back to the 2022 NCATA National Championships, and let's go ahead and look at the scores from the toss event. Baylor winning heat number 1, the 450 Salto, 9.625 to Gannon, 9.400. Gannon won the synchronized toss, 9.650 to 9.425. And then Baylor won the open toss, 9.750 to Gannon, 9.725. That brings us to Baylor, 126.800 to Gannon, 124.225. So not the strong showing that we thought that we'd see from Gannon. Baylor able to keep up and execute really, really well. Now we're going to move on to the tumbling event, and let's go ahead and introduce you to the tumbling.
This is the tumbling event.
This event has 6 heats. The start value of each heat is determined by the difficulty and combination of skills in each pass. The first 3 heats are synchronized, a duo, a trio, and a quad tumbling pass, in which all athletes in the group must execute the same tumbling pass from start to finish. The last 3 heats are individual tumbling passes with different requirements in each. The officials will be looking for form, execution, and proper technique of each skill.
So those are the rules for the tumbling event.
As we wait for this first heat, I want to give a quick shout out to Meredith Aldis. She's a Baylor acrobatics and tumbling alumnus who has created some videos that we've been enjoying throughout this week about all the incredible women in the NCATA. So thank you, Meredith, for your work and creating these awesome videos for this broadcast.
Absolutely. So here's Gannon now in the duo pass. We're going to see Allie Price and Caitlin Crawford.
You're going to see a roundup connecting 3 whips to a back layout 360 or a full. So really crucial here as we're looking at execution is that the final skill of a pass, you need to see amplitude in that skill. Those whips and those back handsprings are meant to create acceleration in the pass and allow the athlete to really rise and complete that final skill of the pass. So very difficult to do. Also very difficult to connect 3 whips. You need to maintain that body position, make sure they're traveling the same distance. So if I'm looking at that here, you didn't see a big level change on that final skill for these athletes, just a little minor synchronization there. So overall, pretty clean execution, but there's going to be some amplitude deductions here at the end. As we look at it from slow-mo and from another angle, we can see some feet coming apart just a little bit. So there'll be some of those incremental deductions that are taken. But as we look through that, connecting those whips is really difficult, and it's really difficult to generate that rise at the end of the pass that the officials are looking for.
So that was Allie Price and Caitlin Crawford. Both of them are sophomores, and that's not the last we'll see of them in the tumbling event. Both of them are going to be competing in the solo portion at the end of the tumbling event. Now we're going to move to Baylor. It's the duo tumbling heat for the Baylor Bears, and we're going to see Kristen McCain and Emily Tobin.
So we're going to see a round-off whip Arabian right into a round-off backhand spring 1.5. So looking for the rise through the Arabian, the connection straight into the second half of the pass. Overall, really well. They stayed really synchronized. They're both really happy with that pass. Again, this is a pass that didn't go very well for them this morning during the event finals, and so it's nice to see that they've regrouped, come back together, and were able to put out a higher caliber performance tonight during their team competition. You see that Arabian there right into the second half of the pass.
Looks pretty good from the Baylor Bears.
Yeah, a little bit of a minor, for Kristen McCain, just a little bit of a hiccup there coming out of that Arabian. But overall, good synchronization into the backhand spring. And I'm not sure on the amplitude there, honestly. You saw a little bit of rise, but the officials might have been looking for a little bit more in that final skill. So we'll see how the scores shake out.
Big chest bump from those two, and just like we said with Allie Price and Caitlin Crawford, that's not the last we'll see from Kristen McCain and Emily Tobin. They're also going to be competing in the solo portion of the tumbling event. Now we're going to move on to the trio pass. Here's Gannon with the start value of 9.55. We're going to see Samantha Googe. Samantha Googe, Courtney Selensky, Brianna Ari, and Kat Rodriguez for the Gannon Golden Knights.
So we're going to start with front tumbling, a front tuck, right into a round-off backhand spring, 1.5. Oh, and so that's really difficult. There's a blind landing there in that 1.5, so you really have to come out of that round-off backhand spring and generate enough power and amplitude to land that, and it's really difficult. So you can see them coming together. And that's a tough break. Those athletes train this year-round. She knows that that's something that she can do. She's hit that pass a million times, and so I know that's going to be disappointing for her and for the Knights. So we look back at the replay, you can see a little bit went wrong. We lost a little sync there as well. It looks like, she just came out of that and under-rotated, wasn't quite able to get her feet back underneath her to land the 1.5.
That's Brianna Ari, the sophomore. In fact, all 3 of those women are sophomores, so.
Also 2 sophomores in the duo pass, so, really be looking ahead to Gannon for how their tumbling continues to develop over the next few years.
It's really exciting to see the young talent here at the NCATA National Championships.
So we're going to see some front tumbling from Baylor as well here in the trio. We're going to start with a front handspring, right into a front tuck. Then we're going to see them connect to a round-off back handspring, 1.5.
Baylor earlier today won the individual national championship in the trio pass event. So this Baylor squad with this trio pass, they have a start value of 9.60, but Baylor's able to execute really, really well here in the trio. For Baylor in the trio, we're going to see Katie Schiffer, Adria Crittenden, and Tori Harris. Excuse me.
Katie Schiffer, Adria Crittenden, and Tori Harris.
So overall, really clean execution through the pass. You saw that they kept their synchronization as they moved through all of those elements, but we saw, you know, we talk about controlled steps throughout the weekend, and that blind landing in the 540 is really difficult to land. And we saw that there was a lack of control there, which caused her to take a few steps and to go off the mat. Now, if you land on the mat and you step off, it's a 1/10 deduction, but there are also going to be deductions for, looks like, 2 or 3 steps that were taken. So as we come through the front tumbling portion here, you see those front tucks. They're really well synchronized. They go into the back handspring. It's looking good, but just like she had so much power, she over-rotated really and couldn't stop her momentum there to land that 540 1.5 cleanly.
So both teams with a little bit of an air in the trio pass. Now we're going to move on to the quad pass. Gannon, they're going to have a start value of 9.50 in the quad pass. And you'll see a lot of teams have lower start values in the quad pass because it's just really, really hard to sync up 4 passes at once.
Yeah, you know, you have to find people that have, number one, the skills that you're trying to execute to create those 10 start value passes. And then also, it's all about the synchronization and the timing. So you might be able to do all those skills, but can you do them at the same pace, at the same height, all those good things that the officials are looking to see.
In the quad pass, we're going to see Samantha Googe, Michaela Lanza, Annie Colantonio, and Ashley Falgren.
So they're going to start with a round-off back handspring 1.5. So look for the connection out of the 1.5 into the second part of the pass, which will be a round-off back handspring full. Really well done. They're going to be very pleased with that. So even with a slightly lower start value, a really high level of execution, and a great rebound from a disappointing trio pass.
That was Gannon in the quad pass. As they run through the tunnel, celebrate. Let's look at the replay again.
So we see that connection out of the 1.5. They did a really good job keeping their synchronization a little bit at the end there as they came out of the back handspring into the full. You can see things get a little off, but as you mentioned, not really uncommon when you're synchronizing 4 different people. So again, on that full at the very end, they're going to look, the officials are looking for some rise. You saw the rise right there with the 1.5. They're looking for the rise at the end of the pass and chest up on landing. So we'll see some deductions for steps and some landing feet apart a little bit, but overall a really nice heat for Gannon in the quad.
Baylor in the quad pass. They're going to roll with a 10.0 start value, and Baylor's just a really, really good tumbling team. In fact, in every single heat but the trio pass, they have a 10.0 start value.
Very rare to see, and I think maybe one year they had 10s across the board, but it's very, very rare to see any team doing that, and so it gives them a big advantage in this event, of course, with start value. But as we've seen, it all comes down to execution.
So here's Baylor in the quad pass. Bree Harris, Aaliyah Kalustin, Cam Kitchens, and Ton Guernsey.
So starting with the front tuck, they'll go right into a round-off back handspring 1.5. So look for the connection into a round-off full. Really well done. We talked earlier today about the sounds that we hear in the synchronized heats. And, you know, this is not a spring floor. This is a dead mat, as they would say. No spring here. And so the athletes are generating all of this power. But when it's nice and quiet in here and they throw these tumbling passes, you can hear the synchronization. And when you get a kind of a thud throughout the pass, you can tell that they are on pace with each other and they're staying synchronized. So there's that thumb right there. So we're coming through, we saw them come out of that 1.5, and again, this is where it's really difficult to stay synchronized, to keep the continuity of the pass. They did a pretty good job, but got out a little in front of each other, but then recovered to execute the round off in the full there at the end. And overall, we talked a little bit about controlled steps too. Those were pretty controlled landings. A little bit more easy to achieve when you're doing a full. You are, because you're landing and you're taking the step backwards, versus when you're coming in with a 1.5, landing and stepping forward.
So that was the quad pass, and in the quad pass, you normally see a lot of deductions, and right there, Baylor looked pretty good. We'll have to see. Again, they had a 10.0 start value there. Now we're going to move to the solo portion of the tumbling event. We're going to start with the aerial pass from Gannon, and it's going to be Michaela Lanza, the junior.
So starting off with the front tuck, round off back handspring 1.5, round off full, so what we just saw in the Baylor quad pass. A little bit of a shoulder shrug there. I think she liked it, but it was a fun reaction to see. She runs off the floor to greet her teammates and celebrate a great start in the solo passes. So that front tuck, you can see her leap into that, connect the round off back handspring, 1.5. Looks like she connected that well. She's really traveling there in the first half of the pass, and she does a round off and she completes that full. Strong start.
Strong start indeed for Gannon. Again, a 10.0 start value on that aerial pass from Michaela Lanza. Baylor currently leading as we're 4 events through, and we're in the 5th event right now here in the tumbling. Again, for the next 3 heats, it'll be the solo tumbling, as we're awaiting Baylor to come out for the aerial pass. For Baylor, we're going to see Kristen McCain, who we already saw earlier, the sophomore in the duo. McCain, Coach Fee was very, very high on. She called her a vocal leader on the sideline. Just people gravitate towards her. They love to follow her around, and you love to see that type of leadership from a sophomore.
Yeah, she said she has that innate ability to kind of see what her teammates need, and when things are going on, the teammates kind of look to her for her reaction, and she gives them a lift. So it'll be fun to see if she can provide that lift here, keep the momentum going for Baylor in the tumbling event. We're going to see her execute a round off back handspring 1.5, round off whip full. So again, we've been talking a little bit today about, you want to see the rise in the 1.5 and then the full. And so connecting, sometimes the whip is a little slightly higher value than the back handspring. So being able to utilize that whip to generate speed and then have that amplitude for the final skill.
So here is McCain and the aerial pass.
Very well done. I think that's going to receive a high score today. I think she scored a 9.85 yesterday, and I expect she's going to see that again. We saw, nice, the crowd, the attempted crowd surf didn't quite get up there. Not something you like to see from an acrobatics and tumbling team that's known for lifting each other up. So we'll have to consult with them on that error later. But here we see the tumbling pass. You see not a ton of amplitude in the middle of the pass for that 1.5, but she connected it very well and then went right into that whip and you did see that amplitude in the final, for the full at the final end of the pass.
I'm just more surprised that the team didn't catch her.
How can that be? Come on.
It's because they aren't on the mat right now.
That's true, it's true.
And there you go.
There we go, the attempted crowd surf gone wrong, but they laughed it off, and luckily no deductions or judging of celebrations.
Nope, just big smiles on the sideline. So that was Baylor, and that was Kristen McCain, the sophomore for the Baylor Bears in the aerial pass. We have the 6-element pass heat coming up for Gannon. They're going to have a start value of 10.0, and it's going to be the sophomore Allie Price, who we've talked a lot about so far today, the sophomore top and tumbler from New Paris, PA, 2022 NCATA All-American, the freak of nature herself, Allie Price.
Scored very well yesterday, a 9.825. She's just going to look to repeat that tonight. We're going to see a round off whip Arabian, round off back handspring 1.5. Really well done. We know she's going to be pleased with that. Going back through the tunnel to the team. So as we look here at the replay, we see that the rise in the Arabian comes out, connects that very well, is able to go right into the second half of the pass. And you see that amplitude in that final skill. So you see a little bit of that step. I would say there might be potentially a deduction on that controlled step. Again, with our benefit of multiple angles and replay, you might see, her feet are apart at a couple of instances throughout the pass, but overall, really sound technical execution by Allie Price.
We're here in the tumbling event, the 6-element pass we're awaiting from Baylor. It's been a wonderful 2022 NCATA National Championship here at Matthew Knight Arena. And here's going to be Emily Tobin, the junior from Templeton, California, the NCATA Division I Athlete of the Year.
So we're going to see that round off with Arabian, round off back handspring 1.5 that we just saw with Allie Price. Emily Tobin's pass, she's been doing this for years. And again, a solid heat for her tonight.
And you love to see that from Tobin, especially after how she performed earlier today in the event finals.
Yeah, she's not one to show much emotion. She's a really stoic competitor, and so this morning you could really see how disappointed she was with her performance. But it looks like we said she's regrouped and she's come back strong tonight for her team. So as we look at that pass with the round up with Arabian, she connects very well out of that. Is able to get that amplitude on the final pass. You can see a little bit of a step out there to the right, so that'll be a small deduction. Again, we can see from this side maybe a slight feet apart and some bent knees. But overall, great heat for Emily Tobin.
It's a 10.0 start value for Emily Tobin. Again, the NCATA Division I Athlete of the Year, 2-time NCATA All-American the past 2 years. And now we're going to move on to Gannon in the open pass, a 9.90 start value. And here's Caitlin Crawford.
So we're going to see her execute a round off, connect 3 whips into a full. Really well done. So we talked a lot about whips this weekend, and so we want to see the same body position, maintaining that smooth flow from head to foot, and also we want to see those whips traveling in the same amount across the mat. So as we look at the replay, I think we're going to see that was pretty well executed, and the difficulty of coming out of those whips into the 1.5. So you can see on the very final whip there, she pulls her feet underneath her a little bit more than she does in those other whips, so she can get that amplitude in the final skill. So there might be a slight deduction on that final whip, but it did allow her to get the amplitude that she needs to complete the full at the end of the pass.
Again, Caitlin Crawford, a sophomore. Her and Allie Price, both sophomores, and so it's really exciting to see their careers take off here in the NCATA. Still have 2 more years of tumbling together, and they're already doing it here at the NCATA National Championship. You got to think in the future, potential national championship in the individual event finals.
Yes.
Please welcome from
For Baylor in the open tumbling, we're going to see Bree Harris, the graduate student, and this is going to be exciting because Bree Harris has hops.
Yeah, you will see her just really seemingly float in the air. It's really incredible, the amplitude that she could create and the power that she generates. Again, we are not on a spring floor here, so really fun to see her come back as well. You know, she had a Achilles tear, and she came all the way back from that injury, made her way through COVID to come back and have that final opportunity to compete here tonight. See her parents there cheering her on. So as we look at the pass, we can see this execution, the front tuck into the round off, 1.5, and then another round off and a full there. And it's just incredible to see the air that she can get. So powerful. I do see a little bit of deviation from the start of the pass as she came through that front tuck. You can see it's close to the line in that round off to the back handspring to the 1.5. She moves off the line just a little bit, slightly, but really comes together, brings her legs together, has that nice long layout here for the full at the end.
That'll do it for the tumbling event, meaning that we only have one more event to go here at the NCATA National Championships, and that's the team event. So we're going to step aside, take a break while they tally up the tumbling scores. But when we come back, 2 minutes and 45 seconds of organized chaos. The scores are in for the tumbling event, and let's go ahead and look at the scores right now. Baylor, another clean sweep winning the duo, the trio, the quad, the aerial, the 6-element, and the open. All of the heats in the tumbling event, Baylor wins. They outscore Gannon 56.950 to 54.200 in the tumbling event as a total. That brings us to a meet score. Baylor 183.025 to Gannon 178.425.
Now remember, Baylor had about 1.5 points of start value going into this. So Gannon executed very well and Baylor executed very well based on their start values, but Baylor just had that start value lead going in, so it's tough for Gannon to gain ground, and then they had that unfortunate error in the trio pass.
So that was the tumbling scores, meaning that we have one event left, and that is the team event. Let's go ahead and introduce you to the team event.
The last event is the team event.
This is a very fast-paced event, so be sure to keep your eyes peeled.
The team event features up to 24 athletes on the floor, performing synchronized acro, pyramid, toss, and tumbling in a routine set to music lasting no more than 2 minutes and 45 seconds.
In the team event, the officials are looking for the stability of the structures, body positioning, and the technique of the tumbling.
So those are the rules for the team event, or as I like to call it, the 2 minutes and 45 seconds of organized chaos. And Janelle, there's a lot of requirements in the team event. Can you just talk about some of those requirements?
Yeah, so we're going to see a culmination of everything we've seen so far in the meet. We're going to see acro, we're going to see pyramid, toss, standing tumbling, and running tumbling. Each of those skill categories has a number of requirements. 30 acro elements, 4 pyramids, 5 tosses, 21 standing tumbling passes, 21 running tumbling passes. 12 of those, and each of those have to be synced. So a lot of synchronization, but just a lot of volume of events here. So most often the deductions are going to come from tumbling. So keep your eyes on the standing and running tumbling and those acro elements. Of course, major errors, a potential fall, spotting assistance. Those 3-second holds that we've seen throughout, those are some of the major errors that can affect the overall score. But the majority of the deductions here are going to come from the acro and the tumbling section, so keep your eyes on those.
Here's the team event from Gannon University. Don't blink. We'll catch you on the flip side.
It's on!
Wow, what an incredible performance. I got chills over here listening to Coach Eshelman cheer her team on and seeing that high-level execution from Gannon. Wow, wow, wow.
Yeah, Coach Eshelman, she is so happy right now. She's on the verge of tears and just saying how proud she is.
Yeah, could not be more proud. They definitely came out, hit that routine to the best of their ability. We saw no major errors in here. I saw one boundary violation stepping off the mat. That's only 1/10, remember. It's not quite a huge, deduction that you might think that it is, but they started off with their standing sequence. They went right into their pyramids. Both of those were very clean. They went back into standing tumbling. Right into 2 acro sequences back to back. Really clean execution there. We're looking for those holds. We're looking for that stability. They did a great job. They went right into running tumbling, so really I think they're going to score. Their score overall is really going to come down to the execution of tumbling overall. Again, I did not see much in the way of stability or other errors, so it's going to be that technical execution on tosses. Now, remember when the officials are watching this, there are 3 execution officials watching strictly for execution. They're generally watching a third of the mat. But if they have, 3 groups over to one side, they're going to split those up. So each judge can watch one group and make sure that they're seeing those technical deductions that they saw applied in the same manner that they were during the rest of the meet. But man, the emotion there, wow. What a performance for Gannon.
Absolutely. So that was Gannon University in the team event. We're going to step aside and take a break, but when we come back, we'll have Baylor in the team event.
What are possibilities?
Possibilities are what you dream to do.
Aspire to become.
Or born to excel at.
But you need a path.
A direction.
A way to find yourself.
A place to be inspired.
To achieve. And to believe.
Gannon University. Believe in the possibilities.
Let there be light. Let there be roommates and teammates and strangers who become family. Let there be marching and cheering. Let there be challenging courses and time to share. Scholarship and championships. Let there be groundbreaking and soul-searching. Let there be laughter. Let there be joy. Let there be light.
Welcome back to the 2022 NCATA National Championships, and right there you can see head coach Jackie Eshelman just so emotional, so proud of her squad.
And she should be. They just came out here and did the best that they can do, and that's what she said she was asking of them going into this. It's been a long 3 days. They're tired. The endurance and team event is huge, and she said, hey, we know we're going up against Baylor. We know they have a start value lead on us. All we can do is control our execution, and they certainly did. So she said, she couldn't be more proud of their performance up to date, and that all she was asking for them was to come out and give their best tonight. And they certainly did that. So she has a lot of reasons to be proud of this team.
Absolutely. And currently Gannon is trailing 183.025 to 178.425. But in the team event, that's the event with the most amount of points to be earned. Gannon with the start value of 106.88. And so if Gannon executes really, really well, which we saw them do really, really well, and Baylor doesn't execute really, really well, then Gannon has a chance to win. And that's the great thing about acrobatics and tumbling, is that at the end of the day, you have to execute, and it all comes down to the team event.
Absolutely. You nailed it, Knight.
So Baylor's going to come onto the mat now for the team event. They have a start value of 108.47, which is higher than Gannon's. But again, it's all up to the Bears to execute. We're going to leave it to them. Here's the team event for Baylor, and we'll catch you on the flip side.
Wow, you can see the emotion there from Baylor as well. Also, with a fabulous team event. Wow, you know, what an exciting finish to this meet. These two teams executing at the highest possible level for both of them. What an incredible performance by Gannon University and Baylor University tonight. What a treat.
Absolutely. This meet has been really phenomenal. Both these teams have been executing to really high levels. Let's go ahead and look at the replay one more time at that team event for Baylor.
So as we talked about with Gannon, no major errors here. It's all going to come down to the technical execution of all of these sequences. So you can see them starting with those acro sequences. Good stability, good synchronization. See some of those unique combinations over there to the left. They went right out of acro into some standing tumbling. Their pyramids were really solid. You know, I did see in standing tumbling, it's very difficult to generate that power. We talked again, all that standing tumbling needs to come from a static position. So if there are any hops going into that, those are going to be deductions. But the really solid running tumbling, they hit all of those pyramids. The running tumbling here, we saw no major errors, no falls or boundary violations. Tosses were clean. So again, running tumbling, it's going to be looking for legs apart, chest down, how those landings went. And you see here, I think they knew here at the end, they came together to celebrate that they had an awesome routine. Well, we see the excitement of Jordan Grundler and Bailey Humphreys off to the right. Oh, and Emily Tobin with the flex at the end. I didn't see that on the first go around.
Yeah, they were pointing towards Emily Tobin. She was pointing towards the back of her jersey.
And you can see the emotion on the Baylor sideline, too. So what a great finish for these two teams. Both of them executing to the best of their ability. Really exciting.
Yeah, you can see the emotion from Gannon right there. Gannon executed really well today, but Baylor, at the same time, they also executed really well.
Yes, they did. And like I said, it is tough. The officials have this mat divided up so that they can really make sure that they're applying the technical executions in all of these number of skills that we have, this high number of elements in the same manner that they've applied them during the rest of the meet. So we'll see how these scores shake out.
Absolutely. Again, Baylor looking for their 7th straight NCATA national title. Fee Mulkey has won all 10 national championships in the NCATA, won the first 4 when she was at Oregon, went to Waco, had similar success, has won 6 national championships, and is looking for number 7 right here.
Well, and you know, as we close things out tonight here at the University of Oregon, just thinking about, wow, getting a little emotional tonight, but thinking about how far the sport has come, the first national championship ever here back in 2011, coming back this year. And the sport of the growth of the sport, the dedication of all of the men and women that are dedicated to providing these opportunities for these student athletes, growing this sport. All right, I'm getting too emotional tonight. Take over.
Absolutely. And this sport is really awesome, and it's really amazing to see how far this sport has grown. Like you said, about a decade ago, there were 6 universities that sponsored acrobatics and tumbling, and since that time the sport has continued to grow from the collegiate level. This was a sport created by women for women at the collegiate level, and they said this couldn't be done. You can't create a sport at the collegiate level. You know what they did? They created the sport at the collegiate level, and it continues to grow, and it's really awesome to see how far it's come in the past decade.
You know, Knight, I would never advise telling a woman something can't be done. She's going to go out there and find a way to do it. Good advice for you as you go on in your life. But no, it's, like you said, it's been an incredible journey for the sport, achieving NCAA emerging sports status in 2020, now coming all the way up to 41, 42, potentially 43 institutions that are sponsoring the sport, providing these opportunities for these young women across so many disciplines, coming from artistic gymnastics, acrobatic gymnastics, trampoline and tumbling, competitive cheerleading, and providing this high level, this high student athlete experience. It's such an honor to be part of the sport and to see the growth, and it's really just beginning.
It really is just beginning, like you said, and right now it is the NCATA National Championships, but in about 3 years or so, it's going to be an NCAA National Championship because it was an emerging sport. You need 40 institutions to become an NCAA sport. 40 and 41 have already committed to adding acrobatics and tumbling in the next couple of years. 42 is on its way. And with that being said, once all those teams start competing, then there is going to be a national championship in the NCAA, which is really, really exciting. The scores are coming in right now as we're going to await the scores. But again, number 3, Gannon. Number 1, Baylor. Baylor with the lead, 183.025 to 178.425. As we headed into the team event, both teams came out onto the mat, competed in the team event. Gannon executed really well, and then Baylor, on the other hand, also executed really, really well. The officials are tallying it up right now. See on the screen, Jackie Eshelman and the Gannon Golden Knights wrapped around with their arms. Baylor there awaiting. You can hear a Baylor chant starting in the stands here at Matthew Knight Arena as we continue to wait for the scores to come in. And it's been a wonderful weekend here in Eugene, and we finally do get the scores.
90.54.
Gannon's going to get a 90.540.
90.66.
Baylor, 90.66. That means that the Baylor Bears are going to win their 7th straight NCATA National Championship. Fee Mulkey gets national title number 11.
Wow, well, congratulations to Gannon University. Both of these teams put on such an incredible performance tonight, and congratulations to the Baylor Bears on their next national championship.
You can see the teams meeting in the center of the mat right now. What a wonderful final meet for these two programs, Baylor and Gannon. But that's going to do it for us here at the NCATA National Championships. We are going to cover the award ceremony, so stand by. I believe we're going to hook it up to the PA system, and you'll be able to see the trophy celebration. As you can see right now, Baylor putting their name on. They are the champions. The Bears celebrating their 7th straight national title. And the grandmother of acrobatics and tumbling gets another title, number 11. And she gets it done in the place that she started here in Eugene, Oregon. She originally came from Kennesaw State, came to Oregon, was a pioneer in acrobatics and tumbling, helped found the sport, won 4 titles here at Oregon, has gone to Waco and has done a really, really great job. She's continued to help grow the sport, and Baylor is the national titles. We're now going to send it to the PA announcer for the award ceremony.
Trophy.
So there's the Baylor Bears celebrating, taking the photo. They win their 7th straight national title. The Bears 10-0 this year, make it 11-0 with this win against Gannon. Fee Mulkey gets it done against her former student athlete, Jackie Eshelman. A really remarkable season for the Baylor Bears, and next year, you gotta think that Baylor's gonna be back in the title. They have a lot of really, really key athletes returning. Got to think about Emily Tobin. She's a junior, so she'll be back for her senior year. You'll see Bailey Humphrey and Jordan Grenler as they continue to improve in the sport. Humphrey a sophomore, Grenler a freshman, and these Bears, they're just getting started.
Congratulations once again to our national champion, Baylor University.
For Janelle Cook, I'm Knight Uretsky saying so long from Eugene, Oregon, where Baylor wins the NCATA National Championship. All events airing on ESPN networks are streaming live and archived on the ESPN app. This has been a presentation of ESPN. Good night, everybody.